what 999 is in a decimal system. Is that clear? Yeah? It's the penultimate. It's the 5 minutes before midnight. It's the very end. Yeah? So obviously, it's a critical, it's a very important point. So sevens, when we think about sevens, we can think, for example, the traditional picture of human development from childhood to old age, 70 years and 10, yeah? 70 years. Which is also based on sevens, you see. Do you know any children whose teeth have dropped out at the age of 2 or 3 or 4? Do you know any children whose teeth drop out at the age of 16 or 15 or 13? I'm not talking about tooth rot, but you know, it's part of the natural process, yes? Traditionally, a child loses its mother's teeth around the age of 7. Traditionally, a child goes into puberty at the age of, around the age of 14. Today it's younger, around sometimes even 10. But how many kids do we know who go into puberty at 5? Or 7 or 8? So you have a gross change of the teeth at 7. You have a more subtle change of the sex organs and the throat and the voice and everything at 14. And then at 21, you have an even more subtle change. And what happens at 21? Do you remember? We all left our parents' homes at 21. Not all of us, maybe some of us are 16, maybe some of us are 18. But you see where I'm going with this, yeah? Around that time, you become independent of your gods. Those who have controlled you, those who were the authority figures, those who created your environment, yeah? Those who formed your life. From that time on, the third 7, you take responsibility for your life. You go out into the adult world, you make your own way, you attempt to stand on your own feet. Yeah? And that's the traditional understanding of the 7, the 14, and the 21. Those 7s. So, if we got 70 years and 10, and obviously 35, you're approximately in the midpoint of your life, yeah? And it's interesting to see how 7, this number 7, we can divide it. If those are, some of you are musical, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, do, ti. What's that? It's the interval of the 7th, right? And if you're into jazz music, it's everywhere in jazz. Yeah? And also a lot of course, in pop and rock as well. But in the Middle Ages, this number was not liked. Today we're more comfortable with it, we can handle it. But it's a number of real tension, do you see? Real tension. When I was in the 80s, when I was studying an art of movement called eurythmy, we related that to speech and music. We experienced the intervals of music, the do, re, mi, fa, so, in the structures and the forms of our arms. Collarbone, upper arm, lower arm, wrist, palm, fingers, fingertips. So, if for example you would sing or perform the intervals, and so you'd feel the collarbone here. This is the prime, the do, re, mi, fa, so, palms, la, fingers, and then finally, fingertips, the 7th, yeah? So, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, that dissonance there, yeah? That's this. And that's actually built into the structure of the architecture of our bodies. That's 7. Yeah? But it's really, in a sense, a kind of a time structure. We call it the octave, but the octave it fixed and it dies there. The 7th keeps things moving, and that's why it's a dynamic time structure. So we can see with the 7th, you've got do, re, mi, and sol, la, ti, and in the middle is the fa, which is a balance. And these relate to each other, the mi and the so, the re and the la, the do and the ti. And they're kind of a mirroring polarity there, with the all-important fa in the middle. So the book of Revelation is like this, thoroughly based on the number 7. If you're interested in Shakespeare, I won't read all of this out, but you'll probably remember Shakespeare's famous The Seven Ages of Man, the speech